The Innovators Network.
Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney. This episode is sponsored by Zoom. With Zoom, you can streamline your communication, collaboration, and creativity all in one place. Zoom is the market-leading platform that provides video meetings, voice, webinars, and chat across desktops, phones, tablets, and conference room systems. To learn more about Zoom and sign up for your free account, visit killerinnovations.com/Zoom.
Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be exploring something that could have a huge impact both on you as an innovator, but also your organization's innovation strategy. And here's the kicker. It may be like right under your nose. Now, whether you're an innovator, a leader, an investor, a strategist, some Wall Street consultant, this is an episode you will not want to miss. Now, what we're going to discuss is the upsides and risks of an approach which I've learned after more than 80 attempts, and why you need to include it in your innovation playbook. And this is what we're going to talk about today is about doing innovation by acquisition. Most organizations don't think about it. They just do acquisitions for financial reasons. We're going to dive deep into this as an innovation strategy. Now, before we jump into this week's episode, don't forget to subscribe. You do not want to miss any of the future episodes. Also, if you're not receiving the free weekly newsletter, hop on over. You can go to philmckinney.com, click on membership, and sign up. There's also an option over there if you want to support our work and help us continue to produce content and put out more shows. There's also a pay-for option. And you get a bunch of benefits if you do that. So check that out while you're over there. So without further ado, let's jump in to this week's episode. In the competitive landscape of business innovation, innovation is not just a buzzword. It is a survival strategy. It is the lifeblood given the competitive marketplace that all organizations are facing today. It fuels growth, it sustains relevance, and it propels your organization into the future. And most importantly, it propels your career forward. Because those without the ability to be highly creative and to innovate will be the ones that we're going to get left behind as innovations start doing and taking over jobs in the future. Now, while many organizations strive to cultivate innovation within and put together innovation teams and resources and processes, there is often overlooked yet something that is just untapped in value, and that is innovation by acquisition. Now, during my decade-long tenure as HP as CTO, I had a front row seat to the roller coaster world of mergers and acquisitions, witnessing firsthand the closure of over 80 acquisitions over those 10 years. Now, what was the driving force behind these strategic moves? And you'll be familiar with some of them. I was not involved with the Compaq merger. That actually came before I joined HP. It actually was one of the catalysts. I came in to help HP on the integration on the Compaq side, and then ended up supposed to be there for 1 year, ended up staying a decade. Now, at HP, we did small ones, big ones. I was involved with the Palm acquisition, did itty-bitty dinky ones, like $3 million for two brothers companies out of Canada, and everything in between. So what was the driving force? One of the driving forces was a quest for innovation through acquisition. Now, this journey that I went through over the decade unveiled a spectrum of outcomes. Some were roaring successes and had huge impact, and some of them you still see today, and some of them total failures, face down in the dirt, no meaningful innovation output from those activities. Now, each of these 80 attempts gave us insights into the complex dynamics of this innovation by acquisition. And it is hard. You're integrating fresh, innovative, organizations, ventures, companies, large and small, and their innovations into an established corporate organizational ecosystem. And that is hard. Now, the one challenge that we saw repeatedly through these 80 attempts was what I call the Wall Street Conundrum. The Wall Street Conundrum essentially encapsulates the challenges of aligning traditional metrics of M&A activities with the challenges of intangible benefits from innovation. And this intangible benefit from these acquisitions is hard to quantify. When companies are acquired for their innovation potential, their valuation often incorporates a future promise, a projection of how these innovations will contribute to new revenue streams, market differentiation, competitive positioning, future growth, and ultimately competitive advantage over the long run. This is speculative at best. It is difficult for investors and analysts to evaluate the true worth of these kinds of acquisitions. And this leads to some cases of skepticism or over-enthusiasm. It rarely, for some reason, never ends up in the middle. You get a real skeptic, or you get somebody who gets so excited they actually overhype it. And that can skew the market's perception of these M&A activities. Furthermore, achieving a return on innovation through acquisition demands not just seamless integration of new technologies or products, but also the melding, key word here, melding that distinct corporate culture, the teams, the people, the vision, factors that are notoriously hard to quantify. When traditional Wall Street valuation models, which, look, Wall Street's been around, they do this all the time on mergers and acquisitions, they have excellent models at gauging the return on tangible assets and the straightforward revenue projections. But when they are trying to take their models and apply them to complex scenarios, such as innovation by acquisition, these models, the scenarios they attempt to look at, fall short, significantly fall short. Now, this discrepancy can lead to volatile responses from investors, ranging from inflated stock prices in anticipation of a future innovation to sharp declines if the promised innovation doesn't materialize as expected or within the anticipated time frame. Thus, the conundrum lies in the inherent tension between the speculative nature of innovation-driven acquisitions and the concrete reality Wall Street demands for positive investment return. This just reinforces my biggest gripe with Wall Street in the fact that they always want to lean to that hard and fast quarterly result, and that is not aligned with just the inherent nature of creativity and innovation. Now, this discrepancy poses a significant challenges for companies and organizations to communicate the value. Why are you doing this acquisition? And in many cases, leaders fall back and create and look at traditional M&A kinds of metrics. Creative value, reduce expenses, elimination of duplicate positions, new market opportunities, non-overlapping customers, all the buzzwords M&A tends to talk about, because they don't have a way, we collectively don't have a way to talk effectively around innovation by acquisition. And therefore, we tend to take a more cautious approach towards these types of acquisitions, despite the potential to drive significant corporate evolution, change to organizations, change to entire industries. And in some cases, many organizations will use them as an excuse not to do it. So, what does it look like when this works, when it works successfully? So, the key to what I've had from my lessons learned of having gone through the meat grinder on more than 80 of these: clearly defined objectives, well-defined metrics, and organizational alignment are the key three cornerstones. When an acquisition is pursued with an understanding of that primary aim, that it truly is innovation by acquisition, and it's aligned with the company that you're acquiring, therefore then you can create concrete metrics and align the overall organization's goals and OKRs. OKRs, objectives and key results. If you're not familiar with it, go search it. There's been a variety of books. OKRs really came out of Intel way back. Andy Grove was a big proponent of it. I'm a big proponent of it. Check it out. So if you align your organization's overall goals and the OKRs, the path to integration becomes significantly smoother. But it's a conversation you need to have up front. Now, the challenge is achieving this clarity alignment is easier said than done. Trust me, it is much easier said than done. Now, many leaders are seduced by the allure of a quick innovation fix. We have a gap in our product line. That company over there has the product we need. Go acquire it. Let's bring it in. And they go off and they just do a quick acquisition. They try to position it as an acquisition to bring in that product or those innovations. And they leap in without fully grappling with the motivations or even considering alternative paths to getting access to the innovation. This oversight, this urgency, leads to strategic misalignments, culture clashes, and I've seen them all. Believe me, I've seen out-and-out battles. I actually have seen fistfights between the acquiring company and the acquired. It's ugly. And then ultimately, this leads to failed integrations. So my encouragement to management is we may think innovation by acquisition is sexy, it's interesting, but don't ignore looking at some of the alternatives. Before embarking on the acquisition trail, they should pause to consider whether there might be a less risky, more efficient route to achieving it. In some instances, the solution may lie in a simpler, less committal form of collaboration, such as a patent license. Get a patent license to it for your market, your customers, whatever. Or if you have a meaningful number of patents, do a PCL or a patent cross license. You give them some patents, they give you some patents, you agree not to litigate. It gives everybody freedom to operate, and off you go. These alternatives can access to desired technology, and it significantly lowers your execution risk. And you can do it without nading out the full financial exposure of doing a full acquisition. The added benefit, and why I like looking at these alternatives, is you can do these outside the prying eyes of Wall Street. It allows companies to pursue strategic change shifts, new areas, new innovations, and with less pressure and speculation from your investors. Similarly, you can do partnerships or co-development or co-innovation. I've talked a lot about that. Go off. You can go over to the podcast archive. It's 20 years of archive. And I think I've talked on co-innovation a handful of times. So you want to go check that out. And these can provide win-win situation for both parties. While the acquiring company, if you're a large organization, you gain access to new innovations and capabilities. The smaller venture involved benefits from access to resources, expertise, distribution, supply chain, factories, manufacturing, all kinds of things where a small organization just doesn't have access to it. And those can be great opportunities. And where I've had some success is finding those smaller organizations, doing that co-innovation work, get the first thing out the door. And if it's going well and you've kind of had an experience of doing a try before you buy, if there's good alignment between the two organizations, then acquire. Then you bring them in. And typically, when I was at HP, I would do deals which would do investments with the right to acquire. But it has to be mutual. You just can't grab it and shove it into that organization. Now, for those who do decide that innovation by acquisition is the right strategy, success hinges on a nuanced understanding of what makes these work. And trust me, it's not immediately obvious. It's about more than just identifying target company, or they've got an enticing technology, or maybe they've got some patents you're really interested in. It involves a deep dive into the compatibility of two organizations. That includes cultures, values, vision for the future. And if you think you're the bigger company and you can just cram it down on them, think again. If you want to get the true return, the true value of, quote, innovation by acquisition, there has to be alignment, and you have to be willing to walk away if it's not going to work. It requires meticulous planning for the post-acquisition integration process. It isn't about aligning financial systems and throwing the sales teams together and rebranding the marketing, and that's all the easy stuff, right? But let me show you, man. The one area that I always struggled with was basically bureaucratic inertia or cultural resistance. The two biggest roadblocks that we consistently ran into on every one of these efforts. So, what are the quick steps? Don't have enough time to go through each one of these in detail. Each one of these could be its own video in the future. Who knows? But here are some of the steps to a successful acquisition strategy around innovation. So, innovation by acquisition. Number one, identify strategic alignment. Ensure the acquisition aligns with your company's long-term goals and innovation objectives. Two, conduct thorough due diligence. I am shocked by how few companies do what I would call really good due diligence. And that's going beyond the financials. Culture, technology, market. Get into the weeds. Next, involve key stakeholders early. If I had to look back on a couple of the acquisitions that we did, some big ones, $3 billion, $4 billion, is popping the surprise on the teams. The top leaders were involved, but you didn't trust people to bring it in and bring more people into the tent early on to drive that alignment. You popped the surprise on the announcement and then told the teams to work together. If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't do that. Next, define clear metrics and goals. Align the metrics between both organizations. Align the goals. Plan. Next up, key. You've heard me talk about culture, innovation culture being absolutely critical. Plan for culture integration. Proactively plan for culture integration. And recognize there's going to be differences. And don't think just because, if you're the bigger one, that you're going to get it crammed down into you. If you're the smaller one and your culture is important to you, don't be a wallflower. Help the company acquiring you understand why your culture is important. Next, focus on people. Acquisitions are not about assets and patents and financial results and inventory and parts and supply chain. No, it all comes down to people. It comes down to and people, and as leaders, we tend to get hung up on acquisitions through the Wall Street lens, thinking that if the spreadsheet looks good, the deal is good. Focus on the people. Ensure clear communications and support for both organizations' employees through the acquisition. Acquisitions are disruptive. Disruptive in the positive sense, and it can be disruptive in the negative sense. Next, maintain innovation momentum. Keep the innovative spark alive. If you're the bigger one, by providing the acquired company's team with autonomy, with resources, put more money into it, let them expand, get them to move faster, show them the value of having a larger organization stepping in but not stepping on the work they do. And then monitor and adjust post-acquisition. Don't think you got it all figured out. The company, if you're acquiring the company, 90 days, 120 days, that's not enough time for you to really know what's it like to be in that organization. So, through all of this, what would be the one key lesson that I just wish I knew from the very beginning when I started down with a robust strategy of innovation by acquisition? And that is autonomy. Letting the acquired company have autonomy. This allows them to continue to innovate while also integrating its strengths into the broader organization. Now, if I had to score myself on this one lesson, I would maybe give myself a C, honestly, more likely a D early in my tenure. And then I spent a lot of time learning this lesson and getting myself and my leadership team to an A- or a B+. It is by far the hardest work I've ever had to do as a leader. Now, others who say they get it right away and they've done it right and they got locked and loaded, I'm going to yell BS. So what's the test? How many of the people from the acquisition are still within the organization 2 years past earnout? So when you do an acquisition, a lot of the leadership, managers, etc., will have an earnout. That's to keep them locked into their seat to support this integration. Question I always ask is what percentage of that staff is still around inside the larger organization 2 years after the earnout expiration? You would be shocked at how many people are not around. You did an acquisition, but the end result was nobody stayed around. They're gone. The other is if you really want to see the value of your integration, how many have been from the smaller company that you acquired, the innovation that was acquired, how many of them were promoted into senior leadership roles within the acquiring organization way after the earnout? Not the time of the acquisition, because the CEO of a smaller company may be made a vice president or whatever just to kind of make them feel good. But after you've done the integration, have the people within the small organization rose within the larger organization to have influence, to actually show that the acquisition was real and not just window dressing. Or, as I said in the past video, creating innovation theater. And you see this all the time in acquisitions. People will talk and wave innovation in order to try to get Wall Street to support the deal, but when you look at it afterwards, the results were not great. Now, is innovation by acquisition a surefire path to really getting an organization kick-started down the innovation path or help them accelerate? Honestly, I'd have to say that the answer is nuanced. It's not an automatic yes. When executed with clear objectives, good planning, strategic thinking, strategic foresight, it can be a powerful engine for innovation. However, it is not a panacea for all the innovation challenges that particularly larger organizations will experience. Innovation by acquisition is more than a strategy. It's not something to be driven by the CFO or even the CTO or even the Chief Innovation Officer. It's a mindset. It's an organizational mindset. It's about seeing beyond the immediate horizon and recognizing value where others see complexity. The road is not easy, yet it's filled with incredible opportunities for growth and transformation. There are hundreds of thousands of startup companies out there doing interesting and exciting work. You just need to go talk to them and find those that are a match. Key here is do not get enamored with the innovation. Get enamored with the people. Get enamored with their culture. Get enamored with the way they think. If there's not alignment, my key metric is culture. If there's not a cultural alignment, I will walk away from the deal. I will not, no matter how important, how strategic the deal is. And I can point to some very specific examples where the organization, even though I recommended they walk away from the deal, did not walk away from the deal and resulted in billions of dollars of write-downs because of bad acquisition decisions. Think of these acquisitions not as just business transactions, and that's something you report on your 10Qs into Wall Street, but it's a partnership. Even when it's a really, really small organization, don't treat them as you're an afterthought and, what I paid for you is a rounding error in the travel budget for one of our small. No, treat them as partners. And they can breathe. If you really treat them as a partner, they can breathe new life into your organization. The key to success lies in approaching these acquisitions with eyes wide open on both sides, recognizing them as complex, multifaceted endeavors that require more than financial investment. They demand strategic patience, cultural sensitivity, and steadfast commitment to fostering innovation. As we navigate this ever-evolving business landscape, the ability to innovate through strategic acquisitions will continue to be valuable skill set for leaders. If you learn how to do innovation by acquisition, your value to your organization or to your future job goes significantly, because now you have this ability of not just driving innovation itself, but actually acquiring and bringing in these other innovations from outside. Yet, just as another word of caution, be careful. There are both rewards and inherent risks. Now, it is a road less traveled. Lots of organizations do not think about innovation by acquisition strategically. It's kind of a byproduct of M&A activities. But in my case, I'm arguing for it to actually be the front end of those discussions. What's the innovation value an organization can bring to us, therefore then drive the rest of the activities. And again, empathy and culture. You have to align, or it's not it's just not going to happen. The interesting thing is when I've done these deals successfully, there's a couple of benefits. One is it's not just about growth and getting into a new market, but in some cases, you can acquire transformative innovation a baseline, a foundation that can feed your organization for decades. So, but look, it's not going to happen through a 2-week Google search finding companies and going off and acquiring. This takes strategic effort. But who knows? Your next acquisition could be key to unlocking an entire era of innovation for your organization. Great rewards come to those taking calculated risks and who are willing to navigate uncharted territories. Thank you so much for joining in with us today. Your time and attention means the world to me, means the world to the team. If you would like to explore crafting successful innovation through acquisition strategies in more detail, this is just an introductory. I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours in a single video. I want to hear back from you. Let me know in the comments, and if there's enough interest, if there's something that you would want to hear more about, or I'm sure I'm going to get requests to share and name names on all 80 of the acquisitions I was involved in. Put your comments down below, and if there's enough interest, I'll look to create some more videos. If today's episode struck a chord with you, I have a favor to ask. Can you share it? Can you let other people know about it? And also, it's easy to do down below, but you can also, one other request is, subscribe. We're putting out more and more videos. We're trying to keep up. But your help in spreading the word is critical. By subscribing, that endorsement of the channel helps the algorithm then make our content more available. Share it with friends, colleagues, anyone who you believe would benefit from deep dive into innovation, creativity, and design, the subject areas that we cover here on the channel. Every share, every conversation you start contributes. We want to create a community. We want to bring all of us together. Thanks again for joining, and until next time, keep innovating, keep pushing the boundaries, go out there and change the world. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.
This show is distributed by the Innovators Network. For more information and other great shows and content, visit theinnovators.network.